Today I'm here to talk to you about natural gas, what it is, what it's all about, and the future, what the future holds for natural gas. So what is natural gas to start out with? Well, natural gas is a fossil fuel formed when layers of buried plants and animals are exposed to intense heat and pressure over thousands of years. Um, these organisms that were buried thousands of years ago got energy from the sun, and that energy is then stored in the form of carbon in the natural gas. Natural gas is burned by power plants to generate electricity, so the stored energy that was in these organisms thousands of years ago is now usable power. So is it renewable? Well, in its basic form, when we get it from the earth, it is a non-renewable resource. That means that the original organic material will no longer be available to use after we burn it. So, and those those organisms will not be replenished within our lifetimes because, like I said, it takes thousands of years for these organisms to be compressed and exposed to this heat that turns them into the carbon that the natural gas uses. There's a couple other types of energy available to us. Another type is renewable. A renewable energy source, it means that it comes from a source that is not depleted when used. A couple of examples of that would be wind or solar power. The other type is perpetual energy, and perpetual energy is theorized, but humans currently cannot create a perpetual energy source. It would take an energy source that was self-sustaining. For example, the sun uses nuclear fusion to get all its energy. Humans have only been successful in creating nuclear fission, which is the splitting of atoms, which, while creates a lot of energy, we use it in atomic bombs, it isn't an endless supply of self-sustaining energy. So the impacts on the environment of burning natural gas that we get from the earth is the air emissions, which would affect the atmosphere. At a power plant, burning of natural gas produces nitrogen and carbon dioxide, but in much lower quantities than burning coal or oil would at a power plant. Methane is a primary component of natural gas and is also considered to be a greenhouse gas. It is also sometimes emitted into the air when the natural gas isn't completely burned. Also, methane can sometimes leak if the natural gas isn't handled properly during transportation or during burning. Another impact that it has on the earth is the water impact. Although the burning of natural gas requires very little water, however, the natural gas fired boiler and systems that burn the natural gas require water for cooling purposes. Some power plants use water from rivers or lakes, and the removal of water to cool those systems can sometimes kill fish and other animals that rely on the water resource for sustainability. Also, we don't have to worry about water discharges from burning of natural gas because the turbines that burn natural gas do not produce any water discharges. As far as other waste, there is no really other substantial solid waste or anything of that source that uses that is produced by the burning of natural gas. So the U.S. currently has about 1,338 trillion cubic feet of natural gas reserves, which is a fairly large amount. That was in 2003, according to the EPA. And in the same year, the U.S. gas production was 18.6 trillion cubic feet. So quite a bit. Sustainability of natural gas. Like I said, it's a non-renewable resource in its current form, but there is something called biogas, which I'll discuss here. Biogas, according to the EPA, refers to a mixture of different gases produced by the breakdown of organic matter in the absence of oxygen. Biogas can be produced from regionally available raw materials such as recycled waste, and it is considered a renewable energy source, and in many cases exerts a very small carbon footprint. Biogas can be turned into natural gas, other fuels that can be burnt by vehicles. It can be compressed in the same way natural gas is compressed to use to power motor vehicles. So some examples is I've seen buses in certain cities that have advertisements on them that say that they are using clean burning natural gas to run their vehicles. The other thing that's to be concerned about, and this kind of goes back to the effect on the environment, is fracking. And what fracking is it's a well stimulation technique in which rock is fractured by hydraulically pressurized liquid. Some hydraulic fractures form naturally, but usually a high pressure fluid is some form chemicals and sand suspended in water are injected into a well to create cracks in deep rock formations through which natural gas will flow more freely. So basically, they're artificially creating cracks in rocks in order to extract more natural gas. And you can understand why that seems like a problem for the environment. According to Mark Broomfield in the European Commission report, the environmental impacts of hydraulic fracturing are air emissions and climate change, higher water consumption, water contamination, land use, risk of earthquakes. It's a very noisy process, and there are health effects on humans. Air emissions are primarily methane, which, like I said before, is a greenhouse gas that escape from wells, along with industrial emissions from equipment used in the extraction process. So fracking is not a environmentally friendly process, to say the least. So what is the fate of natural gas? Well, it is a finite resource, just as petroleum is. So there will be a time when we have no further natural gas reserves left. So, like I said, are biofuels a solution to continue the production of natural gas artificially? According to National Geographic, they say that biofuels on the surface look like a great solution. Cars are a major source of atmospheric carbon dioxide, so they think that, since plants absorb carbon dioxide as they grow, crops grown for biofuels would absorb much of the carbon dioxide that comes out of the tailpipes of cars. And unlike underground oil reserves, biofuels are a renewable resource since we can always grow more crops to turn into fuel. But they say it's not so simple. The process of growing crops, which uses fertilizers and pesticides, and processing those plants into fuel consumes a lot of energy itself. So as much as you're saving by using biofuels and creating biofuels, you're spending creating these crops that go into the formation of the biofuels. They suggest that in the future, we may think a better way of making biofuels is from grasses and saplings, which contain more cellulose. Cellulose is the tough material that makes up plants' cell walls, and most of the weight of a plant is cellulose. If we turn cellulose into a biofuel, it could be more efficient than current biofuels and emit less carbon dioxide. So that's biofuels or natural gas in a nutshell. I talked about what it is, if it's renewable or not, some of the impacts it has on the environment, and the sustainability of natural gas moving forward.